Music can change the world. Music can affect your life. But to find the important stuff, you may have to dig a little deeper than American Idol. Welcome to The Deep Cut. This is a podcast that does that digging for you. We shovel through the surface noise that is known as Top 40 Radio and find the gems that are often overlooked. I'm your host, Mick Gray. Let's dig in. Micah Nelson is an artist, and I mean that in the true sense of the word. He grew up being influenced by his dad, Willie Nelson, and many other great musicians. But then throw in his budding abilities in painting, illustration, animation, and performance art, and you have a 26-year-old musician taking his art to amazing new levels. Hi, everybody. Today we are talking with Micah Nelson of Insects vs. Robots. Fantastic band out of Venice, California. How you doing?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Like I say, I just saw you and your brother's band, Promise of the Real, at the Great American Music Hall the other night, and what a double bill. I mean, geez, you and your brother work so well together, but you are fronting this band that... I don't know. A lot of people hate genres. I just love to make up genres. But you guys are like, I'm going to call you a progressive folk rock.
Okay.
I hear you. I mean, you guys are a progressive rock band. I mean, there's just the songs, you do some amazing jams, some long, I think on one of your records, you have an 11-minute song on your records.
Yeah, we've got a couple of those. The suites, the 3-part sort of operatic epics.
Yeah, it's fantastic. What's the name of that record that has that on it? I'm blanking on it. What's the name of the record that has
there's a few of those. Yeah. I'm not really sure which one.
How many records you guys got out? You guys 3 albums?
We probably got 3 or 4. We just put an EP out called Stupid Dreams. It's more recent material.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
And then we have this record called They'll Kill Ya that's going to be out in the fall. We're working on putting together this interactive concert movie kind of thing.
Wow.
Where we play the album in our studio, but we shoot the whole thing and make it like an interactive web experience where you can watch it and you can pick whatever camera angle you want. And there will be, it'll feature a lot of my animations, and then also a lot of our friends are incredible puppet makers and dancers and performers and costume designers. And so we kind of felt like instead of, putting a bunch of energy towards booking a tour to promote the record, we should probably just put all that focus on creating an epic concert movie that sort of highlights what we are in the fullest spectrum of our band, because we're all artists as well as musicians, and it's hard to express that when you're playing in some funky bar in the middle of nowhere and people are like screaming about football bets and stuff.
Yeah, and, exactly.
So we thought, well, we could have full control of how we express our band if we do it from our studio like this. And and kind of treat it like an opera or like a play or a concert movie, and have the costume changes and kind of create a world, create another dimension that we can put out with the record. And we made the whole album at our friend Harlan's studio here in Venice, called the Hen House. So we're gonna just turn that place into a soundstage and make a movie.
Oh man, that sounds fantastic, man.
Yeah, doesn't that sound like more fun than grinding it out?
Yeah, I mean, you guys, the way it sounds from what I've kind of researched on what you're doing down in Venice and your community, it's an amazing like Renaissance community.
It's fun. It's a constantly evolving place. I've been here like 10 years or something, and I kind of arrived sort of at the very end of the beginning of the end, you might say, of the tech invasion, where Google and Snapchat moved in, and rent skyrocketed, like tripled rent, and a lot of our local businesses and kind of just the scene that we had was ambushed in a way, and it kind of got displaced. There was a lot of displacement, and since then there's been a sort of cycle of chaos and order, and like after that started happening, and we got fed up with the general LA scene. We opened up our own DIY warehouse venue we called the Cozy Castle, which was the building's actually still there. It's in Culver City Art District. The train goes right by it, and that was this 1,500 square foot piece of shit building that we built a loft in, and we built a stage out of milk crates and carpeting, and we made an album in there. We lived in there, and we put on shows 3 or 4 times a month. Not just our band, but we would have all of our friends' bands come in, and all kinds of different music, and we would have movie screening nights, and we had a garden in the back, and it was such a
that sounds amazing
community. It really, like, everyone from your grandma and your little sister and their dog would show up, and it was such a free and insane blip of time that happened there that really strengthened the community. I mean, it's incredible nobody died. Really, it's amazing that nothing horrible happened, as insane and chaotic and just sort of free for all that was. But it created some beautiful memories and lifelong friends, and kind of solidified our fans, our core group of friends and communal hardcore fan base that comes to every show, and we try to recreate that energy at every show.
Yeah, I saw some videos online of costumed craziness live sets, and it was just outrageous. I mean, it was so cool. I don't know if that was from what you're talking about or not, but
I don't know. I
really cool. Everybody on stage has costumes, and oh man, very cool.
That could have been the Halloween show we do every year. The electric Kool-Aid acid test.
Oh, okay, that might have been that. Yeah.
Last year was at the Topanga Community Center. That was the 3rd year of the electric Kool-Aid acid test, and it was so awesome.
God,
that was the greatest Halloween party I've ever been to. It was like everyone. We packed that place, and it was in Topanga Canyon.
Yeah.
Such a cool vibe, and then everyone was dressed to the nines, and it was spookadelic.
Oh,
and then we had that was the first time that Promise of the Real and IVR did that sort of double ultra mega mashup jam at the end.
Yeah, where it all connects, where the two bands connect together.
Yeah, that was the first time we'd ever done that at that show.
And that's fantastic. I think the other night you guys all got on stage, both bands, Promise of the Real and you guys, and you did You ended with L.A. Woman, but did you do
We did
Like
Like
an
an
Inca?
Inca.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Neil Young song off of Trans too. Yeah, and
Yes.
oh jeez, it was great. It was really great. Now I'm going to change subjects a little bit because I have been noticing your artwork. On the cover of Neil's last record, Monsanto Years, you
Oh
did the
yeah.
cover art for that. I was looking at some of your artwork online, and it's just phenomenal. You're doing some great stuff. I did see a
Thank you.
video that you did of it was animated post-it note sketches almost.
Yeah, yeah. That was when we put out our EP, Stupid Dreams. The first song on that is it's called Infection. Time Grows Thin, and that song kind of started as a movie in my head, and so I always had wanted to make this video ever since the song was being written, and I realized that the most not only the cheapest and easiest and quickest way to do it and really achieve the vision would be to just animate it, but that was also like I just really loved the look of how raw the like the way I did it was the, Post-it notes, the sticky notes.
Yeah.
Ever since I was a kid, I would steal those from my mom's office or the principal's office and just make little flip books out of them.
Yeah.
Like samurai battles and little skateboarders and stuff.
Exactly.
And I'm like, well, nowadays you can shoot everything on your phone. I've made a couple music videos for my dad actually that I just shot on my phone.
Really?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
And I'm like, well, why don't I just make this video for my band? And I found this app called Stop Motion, and it's like free.
Yeah.
and so I just started like sketching out this video, and it, long story short, after a couple psychotic breakdowns and physical collapses and weeks of not sleeping and drinking way too much coffee and forgetting to eat and realizing that I have a physical body that I need to take care of and maintain once in a while.
That's what art will do to you. It gets in the way.
This cool video. And it cost like $20 to make it because it was sticky notes.
And did you say the song came after?
Well, they kind of came at the same time. They're the sort of the sonic and the visual are from the same place, I think. For me, at least, they inform each other. They're very complementary, and sometimes they happen all at once. And this song definitely came very visually to me. It sounds very misanthropic. I think I was standing on the cliff of Tuna Canyon and looking at Los Angeles, and I'm like, well, that really looks like a big mycelial fungus. That thing looks like a big cancer, just like spreading and sprawling across the earth. And there's fumes spewing out, and it's like, what the fuck is that? That's disgusting.
Oh, man.
We did that? That's what human beings do? Are we bacteria? I started having all these psychedelic thoughts about human beings as like a bacterial virus spreading across the planet. And I'm like, well, I don't think that everybody is a virus or something. But from a cosmic perspective, it definitely looks like that. We are. I mean, if you think about it, our bodies are largely bacteria.
Yeah.
And, if you get your ego out of the way and you look at it from a cosmic viewpoint, we look like a bunch of mold devouring a piece of fruit in outer space.
So true. So true.
Just blindly consuming everything, Yeah. And I'm like, well, I don't want to do that. I think we could inhabit this place in a more integrated way, in a harmonious way. Like you see a And not that, like, I'm not like a vegan or anything,
Yeah.
although that's a healthy diet for some people. But, to me, it's like a lion kills a gazelle, right? And it's brutal. But he's not like killing 500 gazelles at once and opening up a factory where he farms gazelles to be killed so he can sell them for,
exactly
pennies on the dollar.
You can kind of go back to, a Native American Indian way of life where it's everything we do as let's say, what I've read about Native American Indian, everything we do is done with love, and we're paying respect to, even if we have to kill this animal, we're paying respect to this animal. We've lost this important aspect of life that we have to respect.
Is gone.
Yeah.
There's no balance, there's no respect. This thing can all work if there's balance and respect, like it had for thousands of years, where, like you by killing something, just like everything else in nature does.
Right.
You're perpetuating a harmonious cycle, but there has to be that awareness to that cycle, or you're just a virus.
Yeah, and I think I'm a very positive person. I think we could get back to that. If we communicate and talk about it, people could get back to that. It doesn't have to go the extreme wrong way.
Well, I agree with you, and that's why I wrote this song.
That's fantastic.
Because we have to talk about it.
That's fantastic.
And it was sort of written from a bird's eye view, like a bird flying over the land and approaching this massive, like, beastly growth.
Wow.
Just like consuming the skin of the planet and sucking its blood.
Pretty amazing.
So that's where that video came from.
And like I say, you're doing amazing art. I also understand that you do live art on stage.
Yeah, I've been known to do that every now and then. I haven't for a little while, but
do you know
Norton? We had this great live painter named Janae. Damn it, I forget her last name, but she's great. She came on this whole tour with us, and we had Stanley Mouse live painting at that Great American Music Hall show.
Yeah.
Janae and Stanley were painting together. It was a beautiful thing. And were you about to say Norton Wisdom?
Yeah, you know Norton?
Oh yeah,
that guy's amazing.
I met him. He was back in like 2009. He was live painting at an Insects vs. Robots show.
Really?
In West LA.
Yeah, I know him from Banyan, working with Nils Klein and Mike.
Oh yeah, Banyan is amazing. I love Nils Klein.
Whoa, yeah, one of my favorite guitarists ever.
We did a show with Mike Watt and Steve Perkins. It was their group Hellride. They were doing all Stooges covers.
Oh yeah, because Mike was the Stooges bass player at the end.
He was the Stooges, yeah, and Norton was there painting. He's awesome. I love how he'll do like 100 paintings in the show, and he'll take pictures of each one and then wipe it away. It's very Buddhist.
And it's constantly evolving. Like a painting, he paints on a screen, on a backlit screen in the dark, and as he moves the paint around on the screen, something will come into play. There'll be an image, but then you'll go, oh, that's what's happening, and then Norton will.
And he's like, nope.
Yep, he'll flip you out. You'll be watching it, and it becomes something else. It's you can watch videos of Norton Wisdom on YouTube. People should check that out.
It's like a metaphor for everyday life.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Genius.
So, this band you have is pretty phenomenal. You have a fella in your band by the name of Mike Gonzalez.
Milo.
I'm sorry. Milo. And tell us a little bit about Milo. He is an amazing guitar player.
Milo is otherworldly. Milo is a superhuman.
Seriously.
He's not only probably the greatest guitar player I've ever known. And I know it sounds like I'm just like, toting my bandmates and promoting them. And
they're good.
highly of them.
You should
Even
toast
if
them.
I had never met this guy or he was in another band, I would say this exact same thing. Milo is an incredible musician all around, and he's also a contortionist.
I think I saw some videos of him doing some...
Have you seen Milo doing
a little bit
his...
of back bends on stage? I think I saw some videos of him doing that.
That's on his off day. He'll just do a back bend all the way to the ground and then stick his feet over his head and walk his legs around his body, and
so he can bend.
He's shredding a guitar solo at the same time.
So he can bend like nobody.
He's a juggernaut. Yeah.
Crazy.
He's very flexible. And when he was a kid, his dad was a yogi and took him to Indonesia where he studied yoga and the sitar, and mostly when people are young kids and they can do these kind of things, if they fall out of it during puberty and their bodies change and they try to do the same stuff afterwards, they can't do it. But Milo just kept doing it. He didn't stop. He kept going through puberty. So his body has evolved to be this like Gumby thing where he's like one of the X-Men. That's how I think of Milo.
Sounds like he had a crazy upbringing, because his father was a yogi and then his stepfather was Chuck Dukowski of Black Flag.
Yes.
So he got one of the grandfathers of or the godfathers of punk rock was his stepfather.
If you knew Milo, if you saw him performing, it would all make perfect sense. Chuck and Milo and Milo's mom, Laura, they've got this great band called the Chuck Dukowski Sextet. We've done shows with them a few times, and he's got a really cool family and very musical.
It sounds like it. I mean, like I say, what a player. I mean, anybody that has a chance has got to go see you guys. The way you interface on stage, the way you work off of each other, it's something to behold. It's a pretty cool thing. You have a connection. Thanks. You have some kind of a connection with Edward Sharpe?
Oh, yeah, you can say that. Matt Lanesh, goes by Lenny to us. He was a buddy in college who is a really great engineer, sound engineer, and he'd been wanting to record us for a while, and this was like back in 2013. He had already become the Edward Sharpe engineer, and they had this great studio, this private studio up in Ojai, California, beautiful place, and he'd been wanting to record our band for a while, and we did this Kickstarter thing to fund it, and ended up working with him up at that studio in Ojai and made the last full length. It's just a self-titled Insects vs. Robots. But that was the first album that we ever made in like a studio. All the other records that we made before that were very DIY, like in either at the Cozy Castle, our warehouse venue, or at Milo's house, or at our apartment. And Tony, our drummer, Tony Peluso, he went to sound engineering school, so he would engineer it, and we just kind of did everything on our own. And then this was the first time we'd actually raised money to go into a real studio. But even then, it was like we had a week to do it. We had such a tight budget that it was like, okay, we're going to just pretty much do this whole thing live.
Wow.
And then have some overdubs and, some mixes, and that would be it.
Yeah.
But it was really fun working with Lenny, and we got to know some of those guys. Aaron Embry he's not in the band anymore, but he's an incredible performer, singer, songwriter, piano player who he's done some shows with us at the Ojai Deer Lodge.
Oh wow.
One of my favorite places to play.
Where's that at?
It's in Ojai. It's
okay.
right off there, right off the main road there.
Never been down that area.
It's this really cool sort of like it's like a biker bar actually, but it's very mountainy sort of vibe. They have these deer antler chandeliers and a fireplace, and like it's all wood in there, and stage is in the corner, and we've had some great times. We used to do these things called the Ojai Hootenannies, where we would have insects versus robots, and then our friend Eric Sullivan, who lives up there, he and I and Jeff Smith, the bass player in IVR, we had this group called Walians.
Oh wow!
And we would play, and then I used to play in this band called the Reflecticals, Logan Metz and Lincoln Mendel and those guys, and we would play, and then we did one time where it was Promise of the Real and Walians, and you know, we'd pack like hundreds of people inside of this mountainy biker bar up in Ojai, and just rage all night.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah. And the Edward Sharpe guys are really cool. I don't know all of them, but I've recently got to know Jade. She's also not in the band anymore. She was the singer with Alex. She's so cool. And she's back in LA now.
She was amazing. I remember seeing them at Great American Music Hall one night, and talk about control of an audience between her and him. Oh my God, the audience would do anything they said.
Yeah, great performers.
Pretty
great
crazy, man.
Presence.
Hey, here's it. We'll change the subject again. I love to ask people, I've just started doing these podcast things, and one of the main things about my podcast is I want to know what your influences are. What was the music that you first heard that inspired you so much that you wanted to do, that you knew you wanted to do music for your life?
Oh, man. Wow.
And we can just say right off that, of course, your father, Willie Nelson, was probably injecting a little, let's say, Django Reinhardt, his favorite artist, or let's say some of his pals that he was hanging around with. So you were hearing probably a real vast amount of styles, I would imagine.
Yeah. Definitely subjected to lots of music.
But how about this question? When you were a kid, what was the music that you first heard that you went, wow, I'm a rebel now because Dad wouldn't listen to that? Or your dad's really open-minded, but what did you listen to that blew you away like that?
Okay, so let's see. So when I was in middle school, I started listening to a lot of this kind of strange combination of like punk bands and new wave bands and like film soundtracks.
Wow.
I was really into Danny Elfman.
Oh yeah.
Tim Burton films.
I love that.
Soundtracks. I would just sit at the bus and like with my Walkman and listen to like the Sleepy Hollow soundtrack or something, you know?
Very
at
cool.
that point I was pretty into filmmaking. Like I wanted to be a filmmaker.
Yeah.
And so I would make these home movies, and then I would take these film scores, like James Newton Howard or something, and I would score my films with these film scores that already existed for these major movies, and I realized, like, man, this movie could like suck. Like there could be nothing really much narratively happening, but when I put this music to it suddenly it's legit. Like this is a really interesting film,
Because those guys are so good at getting your emotions running.
Totally, it's like magic, and so then when I was in high school, I started discovering, whereas before I'd kind of been pretty much in classic rock world for the most part, like Hendrix and Pink Floyd and the Beatles and the Grateful Dead and the Airplane and I'd been kind of diving into that, the Doors and all that stuff. I started to tap into like contemporary music that didn't suck. I was like pretty fed up with what was on the radio in the early 2000s. Not really into it. I thought, okay, this is all like being made so that people can sell deodorant or something.
Exactly.
Like, there's nothing interesting about what's happening here. It's very generic, and then I started discovering independent music that was only really accessible through the internet at the
Right.
time. And except for like there were certain bands that I just for some reason hadn't quite been aware of. I remember seeing the Flaming Lips,
Oh yeah.
UFOs at the zoo.
Mm-hmm.
And this was just totally random. I was like, maybe I'll try to find something. And I like went into the music store and some stranger was like, have you heard of the Flaming Lips? Check this out. And I was like, no. And so I got that. I just randomly, from the cover of it and the title, I'm like, this looks cool. And I got the DVD. And even watching that like on my laptop with headphones on was so inspiring to me that you could have such a just a balls to the wall, unapologetically epic, cinematic live show with really great songs but have it be so psychedelic and freaky at the same time. You know, there was nothing. It was just anything and everything, and you know, there's a bunch of like Yetis and Santa Clauses and like
exactly.
you know,
Anything
a
can
fucking
happen.
spaceship landed on stage.
Yep,
This
anything
dude
can happen.
Comes out with a space bubble, and I'm like, that's what I want to do. I want to
Exactly.
do stuff like that. You know, you can do that. Wow, cool.
That was
And,
the perfect eye opener for you there, boy.
Yeah. So the Flaming Lips blasted my brain open, exploded my brain, and that's I think, and like bands like that and Animal Collective,
Oh, yeah.
and Flying Lotus and Arcade Fire, you know, when they first came out with Funeral, that was really inspiring.
Yeah.
I remember I was really into Of Montreal for a while too.
I'm a huge Of Montreal fan, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, I could just keep going down the list. There's so many incredible bands.
Have
Books
you
really
heard the new
inspired me.
record? Have you heard the new record by King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard?
Yeah. I saw those guys. I took my nephew to Austin Psych Fest a couple years ago, and they were playing.
Yeah, they have their new record is just one long face melt that the last song connects back to the first song, so it just continues.
Yeah, I think we were listening to that on the way to the Great American Music Hall.
Oh wow, that's a trip.
In our van.
It's pretty.
Our friend had the CD.
I'm kind of looking forward. They're playing Santa Cruz in about 2-3 weeks, so I'm kind of looking forward to seeing that.
Well, yeah, those guys are cool, man.
Yeah, you know, that's like you say, man. You know, it's but you know, commercial radio is I hate to say it because I'm a radio fan, but it's dying. You know, and you look into the internet and you go, here's where it's at. Here's where we can find all the new stuff that's happening. And it doesn't have to be in this mold of what this radio station has to be. You can't play any of these songs because they're not in the mold of what the station. Oh man, kills me.
Yeah, it's like, what is music? You know, is music a product? Is it?
No,
is it
it's
like,
art.
It's music.
Yeah.
It's its own thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, yeah, people appreciate it and they will purchase it because they need it in their life, or they want to support the artist. They know that they could just download it for free, but maybe they want to have the full quality sound of what the artist was presenting, and so they get the vinyl record, or they get it on Pono, or they, you know, there are it's like quality sound is a niche market or something at this point. And I think when the digital age came about, it sort of, I mean, there's always been pop music and really cheesy bubblegum music, but I think in the early 2000s, with the advent of digital production, it started to dilute not just the sound quality, but the integrity of the art, where it was only there to sell a product. And, you know, it just kind of, in a way, like, you know, I think shit makes the flowers grow. You know?
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
That spawned a lot of the radically different music that was coming up from the underground at the time that you could only at the time get through the internet, which was suddenly becoming this vessel for new music that you couldn't hear on the radio. And that was exciting to me, because that was the first thing, to answer your earlier question, that really inspired me to start making my own music and write my own songs, was the newer music, actually, that didn't have rules, that wasn't trying to fit into into this cookie cutter version of what music was supposed to be. It was just art, you know. It was just like, it was unhindered. It wasn't trying to be anything. It was just, this is what we're feeling, and here's our music, you know.
Yeah.
And it was so much more interesting to me. And then I'm like, okay, great, music is interesting, and I can do this, and someone out there is going to like it. You know, there's an audience somewhere for it. Whereas it was like before, you know, before you had access to those kind of things, it was like, you're just an alien, and no one is going to appreciate this weird shit you're doing, because people only like this kind of thing. And that opened my mind a lot to, you know, I didn't feel like I had been sheltered before with music, or kind of unaware, but at that point I realized, wow, no, I there's such a endless well of really interesting music out there that I'm just now starting to chip the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, well, I mean, that is the internet, boy. I mean, there's so much there. And it just, anybody today that tells me, you know, oh, music sucks today, I know that they're not looking into the internet. I know they're just listening to radio. They're
just, exactly. They're listening to Top 40.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's when I started, like, recording my own songs and writing my own songs, and like, how do I say that? It's funny that it did feel a little rebellious, and it still kind of does feel a little rebellious. But to me, like, the Red-Headed Stranger album, that is a straight-up punk record in the context of country music at that time.
And it still is. It's thought that way by most people, yeah.
That thing is so raw and unapologetic. Like, you know, the record execs thought it was a demo. And he's like, no, this is the music. This is country music. Well, yeah. And country music at the time was so polished and shiny and overproduced. And that record is just, there's like 4 instruments.
Yeah, you were brought up and surrounded by renegades, your dad, Waylon Jennings, Johnny Cash. These guys changed the face of their genre. They changed how people thought about how country music was going to be made, how it was going to be played, how everything about it. And so here you are growing up looking at that. I mean, God, that's a major effect to how you think about how you make your music.
Yeah, in a strange way, you're absolutely right. It's like you know, with another palette of colors.
Exactly, different colors, different paints. Yeah, same story. Yeah. Pretty interesting. Now, you are also in Promise of the Real. You and Lucas, your brother, are both having another band called Promise of the Real.
Mm-hmm.
You are backing quite exclusively. You're backing Mr. Neil Young now.
Yeah, we're his band now.
Yeah. And now you guys got a little tiny little concert coming up in October. Are you at all excited about this? It's going to be called the Desert Trip.
Guess.
I mean,
I don't know. I don't even know.
Playing...
I can't even think about it, honestly.
No, I can't imagine it, Micah, because you're playing with all of the legends of classic rock.
Yeah.
I almost wish I would have done this interview after, so I could have got some stories.
Honestly, I'd be just as speechless then.
But I could have got stories. I mean, you might be sitting down and drinking a Coke with Paul McCartney.
I met him one time actually. Very humble, really cool guy.
Seems like a great guy.
I don't feel anxious about meeting Paul McCartney at all.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see his show again, to be honest.
Yeah. What a show. Yeah.
It was at the Hollywood Bowl.
Oh yeah.
A few years ago, and the guy played like 3.5 hours, and every song was a hit song. And
it's the highlight of my concert career too. Is seeing his show.
It's very inspiring, and
it's the kind of a show that I always say, watching a Paul McCartney show for somebody my age, I'm 56, so I'm sitting there and I'm having flashbacks to I'm 10, I'm 20, I'm 30, and I'm weeping because he's bringing me through my life.
That's like watching a Neil show for me too.
Yep, same way with Neil.
It's the same thing.
These guys are legends.
And Paul's drummer, Abe Vigorio Jr., that guy is...
Oh, he's
a beast.
Man.
It's so fun to watch, and he's singing too at the same time. And
well, that's gonna be an adventure, and it's gonna be exciting, man, because that's gonna be a huge thing. I wish I could be there. It's a monster concert, but like I say, hopefully at some point I'll hook up with you again to hear some stories from it, man.
Call me anytime, man.
Yeah. So, growing up with your dad, give it any little anecdote you can give us about as far as I'm concerned, our living legend that we have of country music. Your dad has got the coolest vibe. I always say Willie Nelson for president. I want him for president.
Well,
tell us a little anecdote about your dad that we wouldn't know about.
Oh man. Let's see. Where do I even start?
I put you on the spot there.
That's a hard one. There's so many, man. His whole
what
life
a man.
is a big
How about
anecdote. It's like.
How about? Do you have any memories, did he? Do you remember Johnny Cash at all? Because I know him and Johnny were really tight.
Yeah, I remember really loving John. I was very young. I must have been 5 or 6.
Yeah.
On the Highwaymen tour. And I really like John a lot, and I still love Chris. And what's funny is, for some reason, I hated Waylon's guts. Every time that guy looked at me, I would scowl and be like, "Shut up" or something. I was such a brat around Waylon. I hated the guy. I don't know
that's
why.
That's hilarious.
I don't have anything against Waylon, but yeah, when we were in Australia on the Highwaymen tour, and I'm 4 or 5 years old, and there was this one time I climbed up these monkey bars, and I got halfway through the monkey bars, and I realized I was stuck. I couldn't go back and I couldn't go forward, and I'm just hanging there, and I'm looking around for my mom, and she was there, but I couldn't see her because she told me this story later where she was watching the whole thing. And the only person there was Waylon to come help me, And I just looked at the ground, and I'm like, this is stupid. I'm just not cool with the guy. I don't know why, but
that's so funny. Well, I'm going to be interviewing Shooter in the next month or so, so I'll have to bring that up
to
him. He's a great guy.
You should get a laugh. I haven't told him that story already. Yeah, but
oh God. So how does it feel playing with your brother? How is it different being in Promise of the Real than being in Insects versus?
Well, Promise of the Real is it's his band, it's Lucas Nelson and Promise of the Real. I'm kind of like the shadow man of that band because I'm not always there either.
Yeah.
They have a lot of songs that I don't play on.
Yeah, I think I've seen them 3 times, and this was the only time I ever saw you actually come out on stage.
And
with them.
and that wasn't until the end
with other
when
stuff.
both bands were on stage.
Right.
it just depends. Like if I'm doing a whole tour with them, like I'll play the whole set, or I'll have
Yeah.
my live painting stuff there. So if there's a song that I don't play on, I'll start painting and
That's
do both.
cool. Now, I was watching the Neil Young DVD for Monsanto years, and you are doing something pretty bizarre that I think I've only seen Jimmy Page do it. You were bowing a guitar.
Oh yeah.
How did that come about, that you started bowing a guitar?
Well, there's a band you should check out called
Oh,
Sigur Rós
Oh,
from
yeah, of
Iceland.
course. Yeah, I know of them.
Yeah, and they were another one of those bands that when I started discovering new music in high school, that really inspired me. Explosions in the Sky and Sigur Rós and bands like that. And Jonsi bows his electric guitar, and I really liked the. I remember seeing Crazy Horse at Golden Gate Park. It was Outside Lands Festival a few years back when he was doing the Alchemy tour, and they had this song "Walk Like a Giant," and there's this whole section. I don't even know how long it goes, but it was just they're like stomping around the stage, and there's this torrential distortion, and it's like it just goes on, and the feedback is so melodic and prehistoric sounding, and like their guitars sound like Godzilla, just stomping through a city, and it's like it just created such an imagery in my head. And then I don't know, for some reason I made this association with the sort of energy that I felt when I saw Sigur Rós play, and their massive tidal wave of sound, and his bowing, his distorted electric guitar gives such a cinematic, terrifying, epic sound that it's like primal, it's like primordial. And I thought, man, that just, I don't know, I didn't really think too much about it. It just made sense, it just seemed like the thing to do with Neil on some of those songs.
On those songs, great.
It's just like that. It seemed like the complementary.
And
sound.
The bass player's bowing his upright bass on that stuff too, so it was a real great meld of that background rhythm or just tonage that's happening at that time. It's great.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Which did you say you saw?
Yeah, there's
video?
a DVD that came out with Monsanto years.
Okay,
where you guys are
right,
interviewed, and then I think you play through each one of the songs.
That's
very,
right.
Very
That's
cool.
right.
Yeah,
cool.
Well, it's really an honor that we're able to speak with you today. I mean, we're going to be looking forward to seeing you guys back in the area with your band, and I hope to see more of your art out there. I had also one other question I forgot about. I thought I heard something about that you are putting together some kind of a graphic novel too.
I actually put that out.
Oh, wow.
It's we couldn't. So my buddy David Wexler is a visual artist, a musician, and a VJ. We have an audiovisual collective called Teaching Machine, where we design visual content for live music. And we did most recently we did David Gilmour at the Hollywood Bowl.
Wow.
His live show. We projection mapped the entire Hollywood Bowl.
Oh my God.
And I had hand drawn animated these birds for one of the songs that we I did them all analog, hand drawn, animated these bird flying, and then Dave and our crew took them and created like particle systems out of them, so there'd be hundreds of them, and then at a certain point in the song they all fly out from behind David Gilmour, and they're on the Hollywood Bowl, and stuff like that. We did Earth, Wind, and Fire last year, and it was a similar kind of thing where I would do paintings of textures or scenes or different things, and then David Wexler and Teaching Machine would take those and and create 2.5D animated backgrounds or patterns or things that would be moving and projected on a big 100-foot LED wall.
God,
kind of thing.
what a
Stuff
canvas
like
to work on. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the music is the main engine. It's like, even when I was in art school, I think I didn't really fully jive because, the fine art world is like sitting in a, you're like, at least what they were trying to sort of box me into was to pick one thing. Like, you're going to be a fine art painter or you're going to be a sculpturist or whatever. And to me, I kind of got bored with the idea of just kind of picking this one thing. And I was always thinking about music when I was making art, and I was always thinking about art when I was making music. So they just always went hand in hand.
Yeah, you got the perfect frame of mind. I mean, the world is your canvas, and you have the ability to do art and, audio and visual art together. Oh my God.
One of the things that I was doing with Neil on not the last tour, but the one before that was cymatics. Are you familiar with cymatics? So cymatics are they're the visual nodal patterns of sound in physical matter. Like the first guy who discovered, his name was Ernst Chladni. He was a physicist musician in 1776. He sprinkled salt on a copper plate, and he played the edge of the plate with a violin bow, so it resonated and vibrated the salt into a pattern.
I've seen that. I've seen somebody do that.
Mandala pattern. And since then, a lot of different people, Hans Jenny and Lauterwasser, they've made cymatics using all kinds of different substances, water and turpentine and things like that.
Yeah,
it's beautiful. It's really simple. It's just like you play music or sound or vibration through water, for instance, and it generates these patterns that you see in nature everywhere all the time.
Yeah, the amazing thing about it is the patterns look, like something that was man-made.
Or something that was made by, a coral reef.
I mean, it's just, they're just beautiful.
A fractal or something. It's
and they're
really
just
cool.
Naturally, they're natural, yeah.
Yeah, it's like the framework of the universe or something. It's based in vibration. And so what I was doing, I had this moonshine crate, and I had a speaker with water in it, and we would run, me and Ben Johnson would run the live feed of the show through the speaker backstage, and then have a camera on it with a light, and then we would project the cymatic patterns of what we were playing on the big Jumbotron screens and lay that over the band. So, there'd be this massive guitar chord, and it would shoot this psychedelic fractal pattern over the water that would be like a layer of imagery over the, the big Jumbotron screens.
Crazy.
And I want to expand on that for Europe. I want to do more with that. But anyway, going back to the graphic novel thing, I just wanted to give some background on the audiovisual stuff, because David Wexler, who I made this graphic novel with, he's a pioneer of that kind of thing. He came up with Flying Lotus. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Flying Lotus's music.
I've heard that name. I don't know their music.
So he's a guy, Steve Ellison, brilliant musician and composer, and he's actually the nephew of Coltrane.
Wow.
He's Alice Coltrane's nephew, so not by blood, but definitely the influence is there. And he makes this incredible hypertextural psychedelic electronic jazz kind of music, and trip hop influenced Jay Dilla and Aphex Twin and a lot of that kind of stuff in there. And he kind of started this whole Los Angeles scene of the Brain Feeder label. And David Wexler and he met in art school, and Dave was the one that turned him on to electronic music and composing in on your laptop, using different sampled sounds and things. And so Flying Lotus's whole presentation has a lot to do with the visuals that David creates around it. And he's created this thing called Layer 3, where it's 3 different layers of translucent screen or scrim around Steve, and each one has a different layer of imagery projected on it that's synced up with the music. And so it gives this very real 3D effect that you don't need 3D glasses for. It's just there. And David is jamming along with the music. You know, a lot of it's very improvised on the spot, and so it's not like he hits the play button and you know, plays solitaire and you know, hangs out. It's like he's integrated with the music. He's a musician. He's jamming with the visuals as that's happening. He's a genius. He created all this shit. So he and I are best friends, and we've made some albums together and collaborated on short films together and different things. And we made this graphic novel a couple of years ago. It's a story that David wrote called The Xenovore, and I did all the illustrations for it. And it took us a while to do it just because we were busy with so many other projects at the same time. It was kind of a side project, but we ended up releasing it digitally because we couldn't afford to make, you know, physical books. There's a couple of them laying around, proofs of the physical book, but we decided to get the book out to more people and just not go in the hole. We should just put it out as a digital PDF that people can download.
I mean, that's the wave of the industry, you know. Things are going digital, you know.
Which sucks because I love books. I mean, I'm definitely someone who smells books, and that brings me comfort. I'll buy a book because it smells really good. Oh yeah. You know, I don't judge it by its cover. I definitely judge it by. There's
nothing
the way
like walking into a bookstore. You know, an old bookstore, matter of fact.
Yeah. You ever been to the Last Bookstore? Downtown LA?
I've heard about it. Somebody was just telling me about it just recently.
Check it out.
The one that I love is Powell's up in Portland. Wow.
Oh yeah.
That's an incredible store too. But I got to get down to the Last. Somebody else was just talking about that. Well, buddy, thank you so much for talking to us. This is, like I say, amazing show. Keep up the good work. Hopefully we talk again in the future, and good luck down at Desert Trip.
All right.
Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
I think.
Desert Trip. Cool.
Thanks,
all right,
man. Talk to you later. Bye.
Cheers.
So that's it for this week. I want to thank Micah Nelson for spending some time talking with us about his life, music, art, and passion. I also want to thank my super producer, Anthony Walker, and all of you for listening. Till our next episode, here is one more Insects vs. Robots song called Beyond Measure. Keep searching for those